Alright, before I start, this video took me a while to make, so if you enjoy it, please leave a like, subscribe, tell me what you think in the comments down below for this video on what happened to the 4th generation Eclipse and why did it flop. I don't know if that's what I'm titling the video, but let's just get straight into it. Looking at the screen here, I know what you're thinking. Well, that's not the 4th generation Eclipse. No, it's not. But this is my first point, and my first point is that it's not the 2nd generation Eclipse. Everybody knows 2nd generation Eclipse, Fast and Furious, all-wheel drive, turbocharged, same engine as the Evo. We all know that, right? And we all know the 3rd generation and 4th generation did not receive any of that, alright? Any of that. The 4th generation is way heavier. Also, this one actually goes for the 3rd generation as well, Eclipse. They get hated on for the same reasons. It's because they're both not the 2nd generation Eclipse. Well, they both get hated on for that specific reason. Because like it had okay power, 210, but it had the 4G63 engine. People would love to modify that, and that's what they used to do. That's what they did. You know, can't do that really with the 4th generation. It's a lot. There's a lot less parts. The community's a lot smaller, but that's all due to the fact that it didn't at the beginning. You know, it didn't have the all-wheel drive or the same Evo engine, and people were just like, "Well, what the heck? No all-wheel drive? Like, that's what I used to remember the Eclipse as." That's really the only thing I could say. Also, I guess I can also mention that I never driven these cars, but they say that the 2nd generation Eclipse and the 1st generation Eclipse felt more sporty. The suspension was apparently a lot more sporty than the 3rd and the 4th generation. And they're obviously smaller, so they're more nimble. Those are other things people wouldn't like about it. The fact that the 4th generation is way fatter than the 2nd generation. And even the 3rd generation. They just kept getting bigger and bigger. That's the only thing I have to say about this point. You know, I'm going to move on to the next slide, where now I'm going to be comparing the 2006 to 2012 Eclipse, because this is the 4th generation Eclipse, obviously. I'm going to be comparing it to a few cars that came out around the same time period, because I believe that another reason, my second reason for why the Eclipse didn't sell so well, is because of the competition. From I already said the years it came out, 2006 to 2012, you could get the 4-cylinder GS making 162 horsepower, or you could get the better GT version, well, better in my opinion, the quicker version, the 263 horsepower Eclipse. They did come out with the facelift, and like it came with the dual exhaust now for the GT. Well, for both I'm pretty sure, but the GT specifically got added 2 more horsepower. I know, big deal, but it did look a little cooler, I will admit, from 2009 to 2012. The facelift, it was pretty nice. I should have put a picture on here, but I didn't. Too bad. All right. Another reason. Oh, this is also part of the reason. I don't know if I didn't mention it. It's front wheel drive now. You know, from 2006 to 2012. The weight, 3,274. You could see all that to 2,000. Yeah, so 3,472. And the price range was between $19,399 to $23,699. I got the numbers from autoblog.com. That's where I got the MSRP number. And so remember this, okay? I just want you to remember this. Feel free to pause the video, go back to the video, because now that I mentioned all of these features, I guess, all of the specs, there you go, of the Eclipse, let's move on to the first competition, the 350Z, that came out from 2003 to 2008. But we're talking about the Eclipse, right? So I put up here, you could see 2006 to 2008, they actually had their own beefed up engine, a facelift if you will, and it actually went from 287 horsepower to 306 horsepower. So the Eclipse had to deal with 306 horsepower over here right off the bat, rear wheel drive, right off the bat is better than front wheel drive for sports cars. If you want to do little donuts and drift and whatever, crash your car. The weight, 3,188 to 3,239. It's smaller, alright? It weighs less. The MSRP for the base model, and these are prices, like I said, from Autoblog in the year 2006. $27,650. So I'll go back real quick. So for $24,000, you get 265 horsepower. For $27,000, almost 28, honestly, you get 300 horsepower. All right. That's all I'm saying. Okay. That's, well, how much is that for $3,000 increase, $3,000 to $4,000 increase for a rear-wheel drive car? They're both coupes. The only upside of the Eclipse that I would be able to see, like, just without owning the Eclipse, without ever driven the Eclipse, if I'm just looking at them like spec for spec, the only real negative that I can say that the 350Z has that the Eclipse is better at is that the storage, right? The Eclipse, while I do think it's beautiful, the 350Z is equally as beautiful in my opinion. Alright, so it doesn't win there. It's not quicker. The drivetrain, you know, it's rear-wheel drive versus front-wheel drive. Not even fair there for performance-wise. It's a good car, but if you're telling me I paid $3,650 more, and I'm already spending over 25 grand on a car, like, who's not gonna pick a 350Z slightly over the Eclipse? The Eclipse, if it was like the second generation and had all-wheel drive or something to compensate, that would be different. That's not the case, you know. So we already saw it lost out against the 350Z. The 350Z sold way more. Next car, Mustang GT. Mustang, even the V6. I'm pretty sure the V6 sold more, right? From 2005 to 2009. You know, the same thing. You get the V8. It's a little heavier of a car, 3,600 pounds. You would expect that, you know. It's a V8. It's not really a sporty car. This one specifically, this generation, it was more of a go in a straight line or you crash into a crowd type of car. But you can't lie. Look at the pricing right here. Look at the pricing. $25,000 for a V8. I think I cheated though. I think that is the MSRP for the 2005 year. I might have messed up on that now that I look back at it. But again, to like the $24,000 Eclipse, I will admit that actually I don't know. I won't admit it. But come on, for $1,000 you're going to get a V8. Same with the 350Z. You know, it's more powerful. They're both rear-wheel drive. Like, where does the Eclipse stand here? The only thing you could say is, like, you just prefer the Japanese styling, I guess. Kind of, not really. Unless, you know, if you don't really like the Mustang muscle look. But when you just add up all the numbers and you look at everything here, like, there's not really an incentive for anybody to pick a $24,000 front-wheel drive car with 40 less horsepower over the Mustang GT. You know what I mean? Like I said, only if you prefer the looks, but if you prefer the Eclipse look, you probably also enjoy like a 350Z look, and you'll probably go for that instead. I think this is the last car that I put on here. Yeah. And I'm only going to talk about the SI, Honda Civic SI, 2006 to 2011. Just to let you guys know, you know, if you already thought, yeah, that makes sense, Mustang, 350Z, those are some solid competition, alright? How is it going to compete also against the cheap Honda Civic Si? Everybody loves a Honda, don't they? 197 horsepower. So it is less than even the GT Eclipse, you know. But it weighs a lot less. And look at what the MSRP was in 2006 for the SI model. $20,290. Did it sell for that, or did the dealerships mark it up? I'm not sure, but that's what the MSRP was. Basically $4,000 less, and you get way more reliability. It's also front-wheel drive. You will have a way bigger community right off the bat. Like, there's no tainted history where it went from all-wheel drive to a front-wheel drive car. Like, nah, these have been front-wheel drive for a minute, you know. Like, yeah, like if you were thinking about even getting the 4-cylinder, this is cheaper. The 4-cylinder Eclipse. This is cheaper. This would destroy that 4-cylinder Eclipse. And this was in 2006. As if the Mustang and then the 350Z weren't competition already. You have this. There's a bunch of other little, not a bunch, there was a few other coupes I feel like the Scion TC, I think. That probably sold more than the Eclipse as well. I'm not sure about that though, but like at the end of the day, I think that there was just a lot of competition, and the competition was too good for the Eclipse, and they just couldn't compete. That wraps up my second long topic on why the Eclipse flopped. The third and last reason that the 4th generation Eclipse did so bad is because of the recession, the Great Recession in 2008. In 2008, the Eclipse 4th generation was already doing terrible. Not terrible, honestly. It sold 20,000. That's actually not terrible. It sold 20,000 sales, right? 20,000 cars, approximate. This, hold on. I got my numbers from carsalesbase.com. That's where I got these numbers. And in 2000, we had the recession in 2008. So in that year, the Eclipse sold 20,000 sales. And the year after, just 1 year after, they only sold 6,700 Eclipses, approximate. Keep in mind, these are the 4th generation Spider versions of the 4-cylinder and the 6-cylinder and the coupe version. Like, every model. They only sold 6,700. And that's what really killed it. By the end of its run, the last year, 2012, they sold barely over 1,000 units. That's how the Eclipse went. And would it have eventually fallen regardless of the recession? Yeah, it already was dipping, you know, for the same reasons that people probably just had other options. But then the recession just really destroyed it, and a bunch of other cars and a bunch of other stuff like families. And the Great Recession sounded like a bad time. Yeah. And then at the bottom here, I just put the numbers of the last year for the 2nd generation Eclipse, and the last year for the 2nd generation, they sold 61,000 cars. The 3rd generation Eclipse, their last production year, they sold 24,000 cars, and like I said, barely over 1,000 for the 4th generation in the year 2012. Sad the way that it went. The Eclipse came back as a crossover SUV. We don't talk about that. But damn, it feels like I haven't stopped talking in forever. That's all I have to say. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know. What else did I miss? that's a main reason why the Eclipse didn't make it, or why no one wanted to buy it. Let me know. I gotta go take a shower. Alright.